0. Right, here we go. Hopefully this is take 2 and we're not going to have to go for take 3. Are you alright, Mark? I'm going to just gabble for a little bit, folks, just to see if this is actually working, because it did seem... Mark's not joining us this evening, but Toffee is.
Toffee's going to talk deeply about depression and addiction. She has a very serious addiction, actually, to tennis balls.
Tennis balls.
Yeah.
And Chi-Chi is addicted to rolling in fox's poo.
Yep, she is. She'll be coming in to join the
loves
share any minute.
I think it is working.
You see Toffee?
Hello, girls. Yeah, hi, Chloe. Thanks very much.
Ow,
Thanks.
she just bit me.
Did she?
Oi! Toffee, get off there.
There you go.
Hi, Jan, Pauline.
Hello.
Karen, we're back, Karen.
Oh, so many hearts.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Listen, we're just going to talk. Is there any children here? Are there any children?
No.
We're going to talk shit just for a little minute, just to make sure that this is actually working, because it kind of went a bit strange.
Can you give us likes and hearts if you can hear us, or they can't?
And I am going to try and get this up on my iPad at the same time. Hey, Chantel, to see if I can.
Hi, Zoe. Hi, Chantel.
Questions.
Hi, Victoria.
Here. Mark, this doesn't seem to be coming up.
Hi, Hannah.
Any idea what I would do to get that up? Sorry, folks.
On your page, yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
We were laughing earlier because
So to watch
obviously
it,
we all
there you
work
are.
on telly.
Well,
and we were saying, can you imagine if we were going live on telly and we were disorganised?
I know, making a cup of tea and everything. Right, now Leanne is saying it's frozen again. So I'm just going to, we're going to bear with it a bit. Hi, Sarah. And hi, Mary Kane.
Is it still frozen? Is it okay for others?
Okay. I think it seems to be all
Give us a
right.
thumbs up now if it's okay.
Yeah.
I have to say that I think it's frozen. It's freezing because the bloody door's open. Why is the door open?
Because I'm hot.
Oh, is it because you're
She's
hot?
having a
Right,
hot flush.
okay.
Hot
All
as
right.
in having a hot flush.
Hi, Nicky.
Yeah,
So,
are we there? Are we going? Is it all going? Is it all going?
Yeah.
I can't sense whether yet. That's all good. That's
So
all good.
basically,
Hi, Jackie. Hi, Alison.
All good. Nina, thank you.
this has come about really because of the response that you and Mark have had to all the diaries that you've done over the last sort of 10 days since the beginning of January, which I have to say I've been away on holiday and I watch them every night absolutely avidly, and I kind of think I know that you two really well, you probably more than Mark, but I feel as if I don't know if I've learned more about you, but just being able to sort of sit back and not be engaged in the conversation and listen has just been really enlightening.
Yeah, that must
for me.
be strange.
Actually, I hadn't thought of that because we were always all talking together.
Yeah, and we're all kind of
Yeah.
Whereas actually just to sit quietly wherever I was and listen to the two of you speaking, it was just much more powerful for me. And it's obviously been really powerful for people out there. And so, yeah, well, there's Sarah saying the diary is a real tonic.
Oh. Well, I think the
Vodka
thing
and
is,
tonic.
I think the thing is we've said we read everything, everything that's come in.
Well,
and
you do.
And
it's not that I don't. It's just that I
Mark
find it
can't read all of them.
It's translated to me.
Yeah.
But that's why I suggested to Mark, how about if we do this live so that people, because it's so difficult to answer them all like this. Let's just see how we go and see.
Hi, Luke, and I got your little message, and yes, I will sort you out on that.
Crikey, what's that?
Me and Luke. So people have sent in questions, and so I've got a whole list of these questions.
Like a proper alky.
Here.
Can I just say, out of frame, I have no added sugar ginger beer. Jamaica ginger beer.
And a cup of tea.
Cup of tea with 6 sweeteners in
and
and
then a
Diet
minute
Coke.
and a strepsil.
So you off the sugar as well?
Yeah, but he's pretended he's had a sore throat for the last 3 days. He hasn't been sucking
No, I am
sugar
off the
all
sugar.
day
I'm
long.
off the sugar.
That's like my daughter who does the Calpot. Yeah, it's Belinda saying she sent an email saying thank you very much, it really helped a lot. And Leanne
No, I know
saying
you,
the same.
Belinda. I've read a lot of your stuff, and Leanne.
I'll let the dog in.
So,
I feel like I know people.
If you've got questions that you want to fire in now when we are live, Julia Ann's trying to watch Hollyoaks at the same time. I hope it's a good episode. Then please do. I mean, it might be difficult for me to catch them all because my eyes have gone, frankly. But please do. And no, I've actually brought my glasses, which I never do. But also we've got these ones here. Okay. But Mark, I was just saying that I found it really insightful watching you with that bit of distance. How has it been for you talking like this so intimately and intensely?
Well, I mean, I think I felt relatively safe because I'm talking to Nadia. or we're talking together. And I think, I mean, I was just really keen at the beginning just to, after that first chat that we did with you, that seemed to kind of capture people's imaginations and resonate for people. And then it was just a thought, wasn't it, that I sort of shared and sort of thought, well, I wonder if this could work in some way for people like it does in AA meetings, you know, sort of sharing something. So, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say every time we do it, it feels like one's being massively exposed, if you like. You know, your skin feels kind of like, oh my God, you know, you're going to talk about... And I've also tried to just be resolutely honest. You know, I think one of the things that I think 12-step meetings really do help with, without going on about just 12 steps, I'm not a 12-stepper, but one of the things that they really help with, and things that they did in rehab, group therapy really help, is about getting real and being honest with how you feel. And I think so much of both the stigma around depression within other people in society and the difficulties of suffering from depression are all engaged with not being honest, not feeling you can be honest, and always feeling you have to conceal and hide and pretend. And I think it's blown us away. Well,
and I think, just how many people have said, that's so brave.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't feel it is brave. I mean, I just hope that in saying anything about anything, that there's some you know, it just resonates for people. And I'm seeing from messages coming in that it does.
Yeah, Jan saying sometimes the wrong doctor makes you depressed. And yes. I think I saw Sarah there saying that she finds it hard when the doctor increases your meds, and that's what you were talking about the other night, wasn't it? And you obviously felt you struggled with that.
Yeah.
How do you feel today about that? Because you were really upset last night.
Well, I mean, without talking about the specifics of the doctor involved, I mean, it's one kind of hands oneself over to experts in all these things, and I think, you know, fundamentally, I do think we all know if we aren't right, and I think there are enough pointers in my life around addiction and alcoholism, all of which, you know, I don't think it's a massive jump of the imagination, stretch of the imagination to think that all of those isms and addictions are not the symptom of clearly being depressed. So I think, because I often query whether my diagnosis is right.
But see, a lot of people will say, and I've actually been looking at a lot of the comments too, and I've heard other people make the analogy, well, you know, if you had a broken leg, you go to the doctor and you would trust the doctor to sort your broken leg. Do you feel that is a good analogy?
No, because you can see a broken leg. You can't see what's going on in people.
You can't see diabetes.
You can't...
What about insulin and diabetes?
You can do material tests. You can do material tests. You can't materially test emotions. You can't materially test. You can work out what hormones are being created and try and control them, but I don't think you can actually diagnose. You can't take an X-ray of someone's emotions. You can't take an X-ray of someone's spirit, and you can't take an X-ray of the moment or try and analyze the moment that you sort of go from feeling reasonably okay to feeling awful to feeling fine. I mean, you know, I think you can have pretty strong educated guesses, and I think that's what doctors do.
Yeah.
But I do think it's that sort of weird jelly shape in your head.
Yeah. Spot on again, says Nikki. You're reading my mind. Jan says very true. So that clearly strikes a chord with people. Shall we look at some of these questions?
Yeah.
Someone just said. I noticed someone just said. That's what threw me when I was
answering
answering your question.
So jealous that you two can sit where you are and read everything.
No, I just noticed someone say there should be a closed group, and I kind of wanted to stress the point that this is not a advisory session.
Yeah.
This is not a recommendation session.
Not in any way.
And I'm saying that from all of the kind of guidance and treatment that I've had, that it would be critical to say that this is not an open forum and this is not a closed forum. We'll take questions about our experiences and we'll share with them. We can't advise, you know.
And I guess we're just taking the benefit of this amazing technology that allows us to do this, to have this chat with a whole load of people, however many, and as you say, share experience. I'm going to, and if I balls this up, I'm really sorry. I just saw some really interesting questions here that I was going to get back to. Jade Marie says, Mark, in your own words, how would you describe an alcoholic?
So many people ask that.
I mean, the only phrase that I return to is where the cost of the financial cost of what you buy to drink is far outweighed by the cost of everything else in your life, in terms of family, relationships, in terms of work reliability. And I think it's another buzz phrase is make a fearless inventory of the pros and cons of what happens around your drinking. And that's about being, again, the word is honest. Do it just on your own. Don't do it with anyone else. Don't show it to anyone else. Although that's a key part of, if you are an alcoholic, dealing with your alcoholism. Write a list of what goes right when you drink, and then write a list of all the things that have gone wrong. And I would compare and contrast the two. Actually, that's what I did. That was the first thing I did before I admitted I was an alcoholic in rehab.
That's made me think, and Nadia and I were having a conversation with one of our colleagues at work today, Crystal, about what we're going to do tonight. And what he asked was, when did that moment come for you, Nadia?
There wasn't a moment. It was a slow, creeping realisation that he wasn't like me and that he could have a wild time and be a big, you know me, I've been a big drinker on and off over the years, and it's just there was no off button for him with that. That could be every night, whereas it might be with me a couple of times a week. The problem always was, why it took a long time with Mark, was he was so high, he's always been high functioning. So nobody at work knew. He did all his jobs perfect. Same with the depression. Nobody knew. Everyone was shocked when he was diagnosed with depression. Everyone was shocked when he went to rehab. So it was very difficult to pinpoint it.
But you did say in our initial chat, when you were talking about your alcohol addiction, that there did come a point that you had to say, enough, you're not coming back to this house and into the family until you have sorted yourself out.
Well, until you've gone to rehab, you'll never...
So what forced you to do that?
Well, because it was costing him more than the price of a drink. It was costing... He would say...
What was it costing you, though?
Well, it was costing me an enormous amount of stress because he was in such pain. He was so unhappy. He was drinking to the point where he would just be so unhappy. You're right in saying this. Just so so upset. You know, his unhappiness was rubbing off on me, and we were two very unhappy people, and we were arguing. And the thing is, we would argue, but Mark wouldn't remember what the argument was about.
And you had a little baby.
And then I had a baby, and he'd wake up in the morning and he'd say, "What was I like? Was I awful? Was I this? Was I that?" So I think if you're regularly not remembering so many... I had a conversation just again today at ITV. Somebody was saying, but the thing is, my dad doesn't drink when he gets up in the morning. So Mark never drank when he got up in the morning. That is not the be-all and end-all of whether you're an alcoholic. You know, it's, are you fighting with your family? Are you not knowing how you got home or who you were with?
Are you not remembering what you've said and done? Are you constantly apologising? I have a very dear friend who struggles holding relationships down, and I haven't as yet, although I'm going to, you know, offered the suggestion that perhaps it's because she's always annihilated drunk when she meets people. And, you know, there's a difficulty in our culture. There's a real difficulty in our culture. There's drinking and having a laugh, and there's drinking to medicate yourself against what it is that you're worried about, or you're feeling, or you're not feeling, and all that.
Jan just asked you, do you recommend having a sponsor?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had several sponsors. I mean, again, I'm
not recommending.
I'm not an advocate of AA. I literally. I mean, I did the 90 and 90. I think I did 70 and 90.
That's 90.
They recommend that you do one meeting every day for the first 90 days. You come out of rehab. I got to 70. Carried on, but went every other week. Went to a meeting regularly in Putney, and I mean, for anyone not going into rehab, I would fully recommend walking into AA. You will find a welcoming arms, a welcoming room, and they are full of caring, devoted, highly spiritual and real people. I can't keep going to them all the time. I go to them on occasions when I know that I need to plug in. I struggle with the constant reminder that I'm an alcoholic. I struggle with
listening to other people.
Well, no, I like listening to other people, but I struggle with... I don't also have an absolute craving for the substance. So, I mean, I could as well go to a codependent meeting, or I could go to a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, or I could go to a... You know, it's what that... Whether it was the drink or the drugs or whatever, is what that was filling that I'm trying to deal with. And that's where CBT works for me and stuff like that. But when in AA, if you can get a good sponsor... I mean, for me... The struggle was getting a good sponsor, a reliable sponsor.
Actually, I noticed Alison there just with a question saying that, you know, depression is something that she's affected by, and Alison, you're just saying there that your family is not as supportive as the support that you have from Nadia. I mean, how important has the family support been?
Well, I think I said it in the first chat. I mean, one of the things they say a lot is that you need to get dry, you need to get sober and clean for yourself. And this is where I part from it. That's very true, and I understand where they're coming from. That only if you can kind of love yourself and be kind to yourself and treat yourself nicely, will other people want to be nice to you and embrace you. And another really good analogy.
That's so hard if you're feeling so down.
Absolutely, I don't. Whereas for me, for whatever fundamental reasons, I really struggle with sitting there hugging the inner child, satisfying. I can't do all of that stuff. I literally can't. It makes me want to heave. I just haven't got time. I'm not navel gazing in that sense. What does make me want to do it is the knowledge that you've stood alongside me, you care, you love me. My children don't have to witness the horrors and the carnage of their dad, not just drinking, because there'd be times where it'd be quite funny to see your dad drinking, just as every now and then they've seen their mum drunk. But the sadness that would be in me, more sadness than... The one thing I know is that drinking alcohol makes my depression a hell of a lot worse than not drinking alcohol. So that,
But what about, I'm not sure if that was Alison Courtner, but I think her, if it is...
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think Alison's talking about depression, not alcoholism, though. I think, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, Alison.
No, I think...
So she's saying with suffering from depression and not having that kind of support.
Well, I can't imagine what it's like without it. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I really wouldn't know what to say about that because I haven't experienced it.
I see Kathy there and Chloe were both asking about, and Luke, I see your question there too, which is a good one. But how do you cope when Nadia drinks? How do you cope with sort of family social situations, other situations when there is drink there?
So many people always say to me, "What's this drink?"
Well, especially
like it's the worst thing in the world, and then they say, "Well, what does that mean for you? Do you drink?" And I say, you never mind me drinking, do you?
No, and also it's especially, I think people are especially thinking that because it's Nadia and they all think she's a good time girl. She likes to go out and get drunk. I mean, this is you were once quoted as saying buried in a vodka-shaped coffin. I mean, everyone thinks of you as the girl,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a show, yeah.
Everyone thinks of you as going out and getting annihilated drunk. That's what not that isn't what all you do, but that's what people. I mean, everyone at work would think that. So for me, it is strange. I often think I don't have a problem with Nadia drinking. I have more of a problem because of my self-esteem issues about what other people think of me.
For not drinking.
For not drinking, i.e., oh, we must be boring, oh God, what a drag for Naz, oh God, I bet she has to pretend that it's fine when it's not really fine, I bet she'd love to be able to get home and have a glass of wine. I often say, we have bottles of wine in our fridge all the time.
Often.
I mean, and I don't feel any issue.
But maybe the other situation, I think it was Chloe who raised this, and you mentioned it in our initial chat, when Izzy graduated with a great degree, and you were so proud of her, and it was that wonderful sort of family moment. And of course, the thing to do is ching ching with a glass of bubbly, and you can't join in that. Is that difficult?
I found that really difficult, and I think that was in a sense.
I feel it as well. It crackles. It's like glass just going.
The most difficult times are when I finish a production and you want to rap. We all know the rap party. The sensibility is within us. You just want to stop. You want to toast. You want to,
celebrate.
So when we finish a documentary, finish a series, or whatever. And the most poignant was Izzy's wedding. Good God, Izzy's graduation. But isn't that weird? Why? It's a notional glass. No, we're having one. You're not even going to get drunk. See, this is the other thing.
It takes you up another step.
This is the other thing about alkies. The weirdest thing for me when Nadia's here and she's drinking with other people, and I'm absolutely fine with that, is I see them sitting there with half full glasses and they say, "Oh, I'm going to go to bed." And I'm like, are you having a laugh?
Is that me?
Do you know, this is
there's half a bottle which has to be finished. A bottle opens,
the whole
bottle
place is
finished.
filled with half bottles. Because we don't
Just
finish
when I
it.
see that, Jan says, do you think alcoholism is passed on through generations? Do you think it's genetic? It's a
We
big
have
question.
this conversation all the time.
There was a big session in the Priory where one of our very, very lovely therapists, who I call Cosmic Simon, he took us through the hereditary thoughts and initial research around this. I mean, jury's out on whether it actually runs, but if I look back through my family, it's definitely with my mother.
She's in there.
Yeah, she's in there on every level. It was in my grandfather never drank. My grandmother never drank. And they never drank because my grandfather's father died at the age of 23 with cirrhosis of the liver. A family secret where they claimed it was something else that he died of, I think leukemia.
But his grandfather did gamble, says addiction.
Yeah,
is
and then going
Oh.
further back, because the family trade was the potteries in Stoke, and way back when, William Sawalha-Adderleys shot himself in the head because he suffered from depression. He'd run up, not gambling costs. He tried to keep up with the Joneses, and yeah. So
Fiona's saying, I think depression can be passed down.
yeah.
Well, when we went
Anxiety,
to
when
Hannah's
we
saying
went,
addicted
what do you think of
to
Kiki?
when we took Kiki, she's just in that, Kiki, our 9-year-old, to CBT, because you know she's really been through it with the anxiety, and I have been tearing myself to pieces, crying myself to sleep. Why is my child anxious? What have I done? What have I done? What have I done to make it like this? And she sat there and said, "Oh, it's passed on." Oh, and just the relief when I heard. I mean, obviously there were events as well that occurred.
Yeah, so I'm getting to the point where I genuinely think there's a creep in the
depression,
DNA that happens almost by trauma. I wonder whether trauma at a certain point in your family's DNA can sort of do that.
Well, Luke's question there that went was, do your children know about your depression diagnosis? Which I think is an interesting question,
Very
but
good question.
also bearing in mind what you've just been saying. In terms of how you manage that, I mean, Maddie is 14, very intelligent girl.
Yeah.
I guess what you don't want is for your children to think, well, this might be passed to me.
No,
And there's an
absolutely.
inevitability about
Absolutely.
me.
But we do talk really openly
We
about
talk
that. We
very
say
openly.
that alcoholism could be passed to you, so you have to be really careful.
We do.
We talk about it all
Yeah,
with them,
we
don't
we talk very honestly. I mean, because I sought advice on this whilst I was in rehab as well. You know, how should one be? And another
did you?
And yeah, well, ask the questions of you know thinking around all four of my daughters. You know, looking for those signs, because they get you to look at the ways in which you first drank. I mean, another answer to the question on are you an alcoholic is examine the way in which you first encountered drink and what were those experiences, not just the first, but the first several. What were they like? How did they conduct themselves? And you know, that tells a lot.
And what were you like?
Just drank to annihilation. Just drank to annihilation each time.
So what did the
Just
priory
wanted
say?
more and more and more. Anyway, but
What did the priory say about the children then?
in terms of dealing with children, and I'd heard lots of stuff in AA meetings as well, where some of the most some of the most telling stories would be recovered alcoholics watching their children drink to excess, and you know there was a heartbreak, and that for me is my work. If I'm honest, I don't know. It's a curate's egg where I don't know what the answers are, but I think that one of the things that has come out of various things that I ask people is that you know don't put a sort of line in the sand and say we can't talk about it or it's a no-go. We're not those kind of parents. Nothing is no-go. They do know that I'm diagnosed with depression. They do know that
They live with you being
they
depressed
live with me.
sometimes, so
Better that they have an explanation as to why it is that Dad is like he is, rather than guessing and perhaps all of the confusions that become early memories of Dad. Why was Dad like that? Or why was... In fact, Dad is less like anything because he feels that he's not hiding anything.
And you're also enormous fun.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the
don't
thing.
get me wrong,
You're
I-
not just depressed. That's
Yeah.
the point, isn't
No,
it?
well, he sticks vegetables up his nose quite a lot, which
Precisely.
I find very amusing, I have to say. And if we had a couple of carrot batons right now,
He'd
I
do
would
it.
be
Where's a
asking.
parsnip when you need it?
I am the parsnip according to Richard. But we have had a lot of questions, and I can see, and apologies if we're not responding to everything here, but a lot of the questions that have been sent in before are from people whose parents have had alcoholism or been alcoholics. And this is from Jessica, whose father was an alcoholic and died over 18 months ago, so it's kind of brought this all up again.
I'm so sorry.
She's saying that she's now going through a similar situation with her husband, who's been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and turns to drink at times to cope. He says it's obviously something that brings back memories for me, and I do worry for our girls in this situation. So Jessica's obviously got daughters. Nadia, how did you deal with the situation with your kids, especially when Mark was in rehab?
Well, it was okay because Kiki wasn't born and Maddie was,
yeah.
Maddie was
but
only
Izzy
young.
came for a visit, and there was I remember everything having to go into a real. We had to construct a very. Because
I don't remember that.
this is my eldest daughter, Izzy. I don't,
my
she might be
stepdaughter.
watching. Hello, Izzy.
Hi, is he busy?
Isobel.
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 Yeah, she came through. She had an access weekend that week. Whilst I was in.
Didn't she came to stay with me for the weekend?
Yeah.
And we watched movies and ate popcorn in bed. I remember because
That's
she always remembers that weekend. Izzy, if you're watching, she always talks about that weekend because we watched loads of films, and she has a really good memory of it. And then we went to see Daddy at the Priory.
On that question that Jessica asks about, she was saying of her own situation that her husband struggles with. Are you all right, Mark?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Depression, anxiety, and turns to drink at times to cope. Do you see a distinction between being an alcoholic and your depression, or is it all part of the same thing?
I think at the core of all addictions is some form of depression or anxiety. I'd even go out on a limb to say definitively the case.
Right.
I'd say most people who are alcoholic, addict,
that you've met,
but also suffer from anxiety that I've met, that I've listened to, that I've suffer. It's all masking a fundamental. When I say the word depression, I mean it in all its myriad different forms. Whether it could be temporary, it might not be permanent.
people can have alcoholic episodes.
Absolutely. And so I don't distinguish between the two. I use so much of what helped me with my alcoholism and drug addiction. I use all of the stuff that came from that, and I apply it to how I contend with and fight with depression. Really good thing that another therapist said to me once. He said, think of your addiction as a fire that's raging, your depression as a fire that's raging inside you. And he said the important thing for you, because you're a creative individual, a lot of people everyone's creative, intensely creative in some way. And a lot of people with depression are also intensely creative. And he said, think of that depression as a fire. He said, the mistake people make is to try and put it out. He said, and that's where the alcohol comes in, and that's where the drugs come in. You try and pour it on the fire, and you try to put the fire out. He said, what you need to learn to do, and he said, it's not easy, is to live in relationship to that fire, because that's your biggest strength. If you can turn your depression into the thing that fuels you, or whatever the cause of that depression is. For me, that was the most inspiring thing I'd ever heard. When he said that, I thought, yeah, I need to stay on the perimeter of my fire. And he said, keep checking on it, keep an eye on it, because it's that cunning, baffling disease that's doing, always, as they say, it's always doing press-ups outside the room. Alcoholism, I love that analogy. It's outside the room doing press-ups, waiting to pounce. Waiting to pounce when you're at your weakest. And when you think of it like that...
But then, can you ever relax?
No. And that's the anxiety side of things. One's never... I'm forever self-conscious. Yeah.
Sometimes when we're snuggled on the sofa.
Even then I'm thinking, is my stomach in? Am I lying right? Have I cleaned my teeth? Did I shave? Is this programme I've suggested kind of impressive enough?
You're always worrying.
Everything.
Yeah,
everything.
He worries all the
everything.
time.
And I mean, I hope I'm going to smell nice and make sure I smell everything. I'm thinking,
my sense of smell's gone.
But a lot of that is because I genuinely love...
You could be farting like a hog.
But yeah, I mean, no, one never relax. I never relax.
Is that a common experience? I mean, given that there's so many people here in this conversation that
mentally,
do
I
have
could be
depression, do you never relax? Claire is saying, and that's interesting.
I cope with humour.
Yeah.
And you're very funny.
Yeah.
You're good at it.
Do you want to go back to one?
What was that last one?
Yeah.
Excuse my fingers, everyone.
Yeah.
Listening to you is like listening to my son, who works as a mental health therapist, and I sometimes wonder how he does it. Meditation helps him. Yeah, meditation. Well, it worked for me in the Priory.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I keep refusing to do it since.
Why don't you?
So true, Mark. Always anxious, and I can't keep still. I'm worrying about it. And I also can't keep... You might be able to be still, but you're mentally fidgeting. I'm mentally forever. And as soon as one thing is sorted or resolved, or you think, well, the cause of that anxiety, the next, it's
addictive, the feeling of anxiety.
Yeah, it's like
remember his therapist saying once to me that there is a kind of there's a familiarity about that anxiety. That when you go to it, it eases your anxiety for a bit, but then you're anxious.
Yeah.
Such a weird...
It's a restlessness, and it also allows you to walk away from
Claire saying, even on a lovely beach holiday,
that'd be the worst.
Always on the edge, never relax.
Well, look at the holidays when we met that we prefer. You'd always joke. I'd be wanting to be off. I can do the beach thing for a minute.
Training around and go, what about over here? And just sit there with a nice drink and just look at it. Why don't we just lie down and read a book? No, let's climb up there. Let's discover that mountain. Let's go to that tree.
Yeah. It's because sitting with yourself is intolerable.
Yeah.
Another question, and I'm kind of wary of mentioning names all the time in some of these questions because some people are saying, "Can you make it anonymous?" So I don't want to trample over anybody. But a question about how you find the courage to tell people in your life about how low you are, and how to pluck up the courage to go to the doctors. Any advice would be so helpful because I'm really struggling.
Well, just say what you did.
So just ask about that bit where they say about plucking up the courage.
But how to find the courage to tell the people in your life about how low you feel.
I think that's in a weird way that goes to the real heart of how difficult it is to live with someone with depression and as someone with depression living with anyone else. Because I think if I'm honest, I don't ever feel comfortable about admitting, and that's not because I don't have a supportive family, it's because I feel they've supported me enough some days. I don't want to inflict it. It's like sometimes they go, well, you seem a bit this and you seem a bit that, and inside I'm thinking, if only you knew what I really felt. This is me. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. But your feet, do you know what I mean? If you were to be in me, it's a million times worse, and I can put on the front to this level, and that's not enough. At those points, you want to let your family off the hook. You really do, and I think that's where a lot of people perhaps resort to behaviour that becomes irritating or alienates or isolate or moodiness. I mean, moodiness, is the phrase, isn't it?
But there wasn't a single moment, was there, where you said, because I don't know who this person was, they were saying, how did you do it? They're finding it really hard to... I think it was just a gradual process, wasn't it? You didn't sort of sit me down and say, I've got depression. You got there by stealth, really. No. There wasn't...
I mean, there's also the bit about going to the doctor, which I think is important too, but I just noticed something there from Jodie saying...
Can I just say something quickly about the doctor, though? Because I was worried when Mark went. I was worried in case he got poo-pooed or he got... And he came back, and it was such a positive experience, and the doctor was really open and really kind. So if you are having trouble reaching out to people in your family, go to your doctor and just have a chat, because you were so relieved once you'd gone and spoken to the doctor.
Did you find it difficult to go?
Years it took him to go. Years.
Absolutely.
And you wish you'd have gone earlier.
Why was that so difficult?
Because you...
It's coming out of the denial.
Well, and also, a little bit of that. My nan's sort of, oh, come on, pull your socks. I was inflicting on myself all of those phrases that I'm sure everyone's heard. Come on, stop going on about it, don't moan about it. Stiff up a lip, get on with it. I was just thinking, well, you just, you're having a bad week. That's, but I've been having a bad week for most of my life. The longest week.
Nikki was saying that I get called moody all the time.
That word moody is so infuriating.
But I'm just going to say a word for the person living with it. It bloody feels like that, doesn't it? Until you know what it is. You do think, oh, come on. I know you feel a bit down, but the sun's shining. The kids want to go out. Come on, just force yourself to feel this way.
Well, okay. Well, I would recommend, this isn't advice, but I would recommend that the only truism that I'm finding throughout all of this is that your best bet, if you've got anyone with around you who loves you, if they genuinely love you, what's your phrase? Those who mind
don't matter. Those that matter don't mind.
Yeah, if they're of the don't mind variety, just be honest. I mean, that's the only... Be honest about it, as long as you're not sort of... Because if you try and evade it and avoid it, there's room for kind of confusion and for your partner not to really get it. Whereas if you turn around and go, look, you know what, I'm really worried. I'm struggling.
I'm struggling and I'm reaching out to you.
That's possibly the easiest thing to do.
I'm just seeing there lots of people giving mixed experiences of doctors. Geraldine, I see there as a really good GP. Other people, I think somebody there said went in to talk about drinking too much and came out with pills for their back. So clearly people have.
Well, if your doctor isn't helping you, find another. You just got to move. We moved doctors, didn't we?
Oh, look, there we go. There's an interesting one. Look, I remember being told. Oh. No, I remember being told by a member of my family that I was ruining the atmosphere and causing tensions. I ended up being forced into treatment. Yeah, I mean...
That fits in the other one I noticed from Jodie, saying that she feels like a burden. Do you
Yes.
relate to that?
Yeah, totally. If I was allowed to say what I wanted to say all the time, it would be sorry.
I'll let the dog out. I'll let the dog out. I'll do it.
I'd be saying sorry all the time. I feel like I need to be an apologist for it all. I mean, like now, I feel like saying sorry to everyone. You just sort of.
I see you've gone into your.
You know, you do because there comes a point where you think, come on, we've got life to live, we've got families to run, we've got stuff to get on with, and So, yes, is the answer.
Right.
Sarah's asking, have you used mindfulness? You said meditation was really handy in the Priory, but you haven't gone back to it.
No.
Have you
tried to get to do mindfulness?
Really asked yourself why you've not gone back to it?
Well, because without trotting out more and more sayings, they say that the great thing about stopping drinking and you could equate this with being depressed is you get your feelings back, but the worst thing is also that you get your feelings back. And so I suppose probably the reason I've avoided it is I don't really want to look the feelings too, if I stop and I truly meditate. I mean, I know meditation's about taking yourself outside yourself. I don't trust that my brain will actually meditate. Every single one of those
and yet you said when you were in the Priory, it was phenomenal.
Yeah. But every one of those apps that Nadia's encouraged me to use have stressed me out knowing. Because all I'm thinking about is when are they going to get to the end and when do I need to move it on to the next one? I want to do 20 in a night, I don't want to do one. I become addicted.
So is that again resisting stillness?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. Comes out of the same place, doesn't it?
Because it's funny, I think you mentioned it, I was having, there's somebody just saying, and it's a simple question, are you okay, Nadia?
Aww.
Well, wait, you can kind of forget you in all of this, but this is...
Take me by surprise.
Aww.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Don't say fine.
Really?
What's fine mean again?
Yeah, false information nicely expressed.
Yeah, no, I am fine. I mean, it's funny, we were saying the other day, Mark suddenly asked me how I was, and I think a lot I had an epiphany, as she would say, epiphany.
I love an epiphany.
She had an epiphany. In that, I suddenly said, oh, God, I don't know. And I think a lot of people living with people with depression or with addiction might identify with this, is that I don't pay my mental health as much mind as I do Mark's. Rather like if he had cancer and I had a dodgy hip, I wouldn't ever talk about my dodgy hip.
Yeah.
So I do feel...
Does your
I
mental
balance
health...
Mark's... I do feel sometimes that it's...
But then does your mental health, to a certain extent, become dependent on Mark's? In that if Mark is well, then, to be honest, life is easier for you.
Of course, yeah. Just like if, I mean, to use the analogy that people always do, if you were a diabetic and you were in a diabetic state and you were very low and you weren't watching your diet and you weren't looking after yourself and you were feeling unwell, for the partner it's a bit of a pain. And then when they balance themselves out, it's nice.
Yeah.
But I am very... I mean, as you know, I adore him, and I just no, I don't. I really don't want to cry. I don't know why that came. That's more emotional than upset. I'm not upset, and I know Mark. I see like nobody else does how hard he works for us as a family, and on all the things that he has, the isms that he has. He works so hard, and when he's happy, because you know this house, this is a very happy house. There is so much joy, there is so much fun.
The food's great.
And he makes me laugh every day, and I wouldn't be half the person I was if it wasn't for him. So the bit of the strength that I give him, he gives me back in tenfold, in other ways.
I hope so. I don't want to just be a burden.
Don't be shy, you silly sod.
But funnily enough,
Can you appreciate that though? I mean, because I don't know how many men, or indeed women, will have ever heard their partner express such love, such appreciation and such admiration as Nadia has just
No, I
expressed
know.
for you.
I know.
Can you take it?
Doesn't
No,
hear it.
I hear it from I hear it.
Take it.
No, but I hear it in terms of, oh my God, how lucky am I, and how blessed are we, and how generous a person she is. One of my major problems is I don't, and haven't, and I'm working on it all the time, feel like I merit what she has to give me a lot of the time.
That's the hardest thing.
That's the hardest thing for both
For
of
a
us.
person living with a person with depression. Because I love him that much, I'll tell him that, and it actually doesn't go in.
No, but that sounds like I don't appreciate it.
No,
I mean,
it does. No, but you totally appreciate it, but you don't
I
feel
struggle.
it.
I mean, I hear it, and part of me kind of goes, oh my God, why, how much I'm getting from you, and how much you navigate your course around me. My inclination is just to feel fucking awful about it. And I feel so fucking awful about it that I need to be so strong, and I need to do something about it so that I can get back round, so that I have to navigate my ship around what you're going through, that the light has to be there for you, that we have to reverse this strange process kicks in and that allows me to kind of almost circumnavigate what I've just heard. I almost, it's so moving that I get embarrassed.
Because he doesn't think he's worth it. I don't think you're worthy. At the end of the day, whatever I say, he appreciates me, he loves me, I feel so loved, but he doesn't, he can't take it at all.
It's really hard. It's really
And I'm sure there must be, I mean, I hope there are partners of listening tonight, because I know that it is
Don't
really
cry,
tough.
Alison. What's that one there? I like the look of that one. From Jodie, saying experts learn what they know from textbooks. They often don't have the personal experience, and I'm afraid of being talked at like another number instead of an individual. I mean, that's picking up on that
Such a bright
point.
girl, Judy. Every post you ever sent us, Jodie, we love hearing from you.
But it's that point that you said earlier on when I was saying, is that analogy with a broken leg a good one? And I certainly take what you say, that not really.
Not really.
Because it's not tangible, you can't see it, you can't measure it, you can't stick a plaster around it. You know, to express one's feelings is an incredibly difficult thing. Nobody can get inside somebody else's head.
No.
You know,
I mean, I could say something as an absolute empirical fact, which is a shocking one. If I didn't have my daughters, and if I didn't have Nadia, I lack the bravery to kill myself, but I would certainly use drink and drugs to take myself out. That is how, and I say that because that has to be said by me. I've been through enough therapy to know that you have to name it as a truth. It is a truth. It is a truism. Now that knowledge in myself is what sustains me. Nadia knows that. I'm not saying this as a kind of new thing. I think there's a sense of that. You know, it doesn't mean if we were to split up and that I would do anything silly. But I know that when going back to this point that they make about doing it for others, doing it for yourself, I simply can't do it for myself, and that goes back to how it's
but
a struggle.
I'm going to be brutal now. That puts a phenomenal pressure on Nadia.
Yeah, it does. Sorry.
No, don't say sorry.
Sorry.
No, I know
it's
what
a
you mean. I think
phenomenal
why Mark's really wanting to make this point is I think that what I believe is that they are given, that you are given into this idea that you can only do it for yourself. I think what he's saying is, I couldn't have done that.
No.
So what do the specialists say to people that say, I can't do it just for myself? Yeah. He has got well, whether it fits the textbook or not.
The textbook I was
because
given,
of
you
this
have to do it for
family.
yourself.
Because of this family.
Yeah, not just
so
this immediate family, but my other daughters, my mother, me and my mother.
Let me just finish this thought. He could almost be perceived a failure for doing it that way around, because you're supposed to just do it for yourself. Yeah. Well, no. You know, if you can't, if whatever way you get well, whatever way you get sober, whatever way you get help, if you get it, brilliant. There's no perfect way to. Amount of people that say to me, well, you know, my partner's got terrible alcohol problems, but you know, I mean, there's nothing any of us can do, and because he's got to want to do it himself. I've got news for you: they hardly ever do it for themselves. It's until you go, you know what, mate, we're over. unless you get sober.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
he would never have got sober if I hadn't said
and
that.
I think that's all I mean by it. What I don't mean by that is that we may well go through problems in the future, not be together, and it would be. That's. I'm talking about at the position of being annihilated drunk. If I would struggle to stay sober and not see the point of perhaps picking up if I didn't have someone in my life. So my admiration for people who get sober and straight by walking into an AA meeting off the street without the luxury of rehab, without a family to support them, all I'm saying is I couldn't do that. I'm very lucky. So in a roundabout way, I'm trying to answer two things. On the one hand, I feel so lucky and blessed that Nadia loves me in the way that she does, but I also know that, you know, without all of this stuff that I know I bring, because I'm told I bring good stuff to my children and to my wife and to my family, that you know, that sustains me, and that works for us for now. You know, I didn't mean that to sound like if we were to split up, I'd go and kill myself.
I knew what you meant.
You know, what I was saying was, anyone out there wants to have a drink with me, I'll be a bloody good laugh for about a year, and then I'll be dead.
Jan says, Mark, did you ever stand up? Sorry, Jan, I just started that. Hang on. Did you ever stand up in a meeting and say, my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic, but only say it to make everyone else feel better? I cried the first time I said that in a meeting. You've spoken about it, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I mean, I really struggled with saying it for the first 3 days, and I felt so in rehab. I felt so absolutely. Isn't it amazing the power of denial? Denial ain't a river in Egypt. They always do that. Yeah. But I mean, it's that. I remember sitting in that meeting and thinking, no, I'm not. I am not an alcoholic. I'm not going to say I'm an alcoholic. And then you think of where you've got to.
Do you know what? I don't know if you remember this. I remember when he did, and he rang me, and he'd been in there 3 days, and he said, and he was sobbing, and he said he fell to his knees. And do you remember what you said? He fell to his knees, and he said, I am an alcoholic. And just to hear him say that on the phone, because he'd said it previously, hadn't he? But he used to do it almost to shut people up. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. Let's get another bottle of wine out. Yeah. And this was the truth. And it had gone through, and he was out of the denial. And oh my God, even though I was so glad he was where he was, in that moment, I just wanted him to come home, because I knew that it had hit home. Yeah. And now all the work was going to really start, because it was so painful for him to admit it. Because your
entire life has been structured against admitting something like that.
This is from Hannah, who says she's a clinical psychology student, and that's specifically what she wanted to ask you. And she's saying, even after being diagnosed as an alcoholic, and I don't know if it happened that way, were you still in denial about having a problem with drink? Or did receiving a diagnosis make it easier to accept that you had a problem? So once you had made that statement.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the major things is that when you truly acquiesce, and that's another answer to saying I'm an alcoholic in a room. Once you truly acquiesce and you truly give up, you're saying you're powerless, and it's a really important word. Powerlessness is a really important word in removing denial. You have to accept that you're powerless over alcohol, and when I say alcohol, it could be any other substance: food, drink, sex, whatever it is. Whatever the thing is.
Step one, isn't it?
Step one is admitting you're powerless. And that's why I say that, to that again, going back to that original question, how do you define an alcoholic? Make a list, make a fearful. I never understood what the word inventory meant until I worked in B&Q, and someone said, go and make an inventory of everything in the screws department. And then I came across inventory again for step one, and it's key. 2 lists you should make to work out if you're an alcoholic. All the ways in which it played out badly and played out well. I can pretty much guarantee. How many nights do we... I can't remember any of the great parties I went to. I can't remember any of them. I was annihilated drunk. And the other... What was the other one? I've lost the other one for a minute. And the other... I've forgotten it. Okay.
I just noticed there that Callum was saying that his father was an alcoholic, and it was only when the doctor said he was going to die that he got sober. His mother left him. His wife left him, Callum's mum, and that wasn't enough. But it was the doctor saying you're going to. But so it's just to say that everyone's different. I guess different experiences.
Someone just asked, when you've done this, will you be upset about what you've said? when this chat ends, will you be on a high because it's gone so well, or be down and worrying? Both. I'll be both. I'll be in that room. I'll be in that room, fretting, going, "Oh my God!" When I said that I wanted to kill, do people think they're going to die? Oh my God, no, it's not that bad.
As I'm just looking at the time, we should probably maybe say give us another 5 minutes. So if you get any other questions that you really want to, oh, there's a good one from
We've got
Anne.
so many here as well. Do you not think we ought to?
Any advice for us healthcare professionals and how to support?
And how to support. Yeah, it's just.
That's a good question.
Where did you feel that they could have helped you more at the Priory? What were the things that you felt where they failed, maybe?
I think it's really important that if someone has a problem with something, you almost as quickly as you possibly can almost forget what the nature of the substance is or the thing is. I think people get hung up on how, you know, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about what is your addiction and how much can you drink, and you know, I think a lot more people, normal as we call civvies, who can drink normally, I think a lot of people are all struggling with various mini addictions and compulsions and inabilities to cope. So I think, you know, in a weird way, it's already being done by healthcare. I think the healthcare services that I've experienced have been very open-minded. I think being as open-minded and less sort of rigidly defined on you're an alcoholic, you're an addict. I mean, I took drugs, but I took drugs in order to drink more, you know, and there were lots of people in there who had a convergence between sex addiction and drinking too much, which kind of marries, doesn't it? It makes sense.
Did you do it so you could drink more, or did you, I mean, like you say, do we get too hung up on what the substance was? Is it not at the root of all of this trying to obliterate pain?
Totally. Totally.
And whether you use food to obliterate the pain,
Totally.
drugs, drink,
Stressful.
gambling
Yeah.
highs, you keep mentioning sex, I'm getting a bit nervous about it, Mark. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Is
well, I say that because one of the most traumatic individuals I was with, and I can't talk about them for anonymity's sake, was a sex addict, and I've never met nor seen in all of the people I know and have met, and I've met everyone who suffered from various addictions. I've never met someone in so much pain.
I remember
as
when this person arrived.
I mean, it's
at the Priory.
I have, you know, when you heard all the kind of profile stories, when I see there's a story of sex addiction, my God, that is a horrendous one
when this person arrived at the Priory, he said to somebody, and I'm not going to say anything. I said, I did the thing. That's the worst one to have, isn't it? And Mark was in tears. He said, honestly, the pain that this person is in, because this person was only medicating with sex. So he medicates with booze, you medicate with work, I medicate with fluffy toys, whatever. You know, somebody, if you think that everybody has something, this person simply had a lot of pain, and they were medicating that pain by having countless sexual partners, even though they really, really loved the person they were with and didn't want to leave that person, but they were compelled.
They literally couldn't stop. So they were putting themselves
in the
physical
same way
danger.
that now, and it was,
and of course, that
just
addiction converged with
horrendous.
drink, and there's a lot of drink involved. But you know, and so I would say that there is a drive to find the core addiction, and people often talk about that. What's your first addiction? Like, you know, what's your rising star sign? Well, I don't know. My core addiction when I was 6, I used to eat spoonfuls of butter. What does that mean? But, you know, it's kind of. I do think that there's
not to get hung up.
Yeah, not to get hung up on it, and to approach the person as the person first.
So instead of looking at core addictions, shouldn't we be looking at core pain?
Yeah.
And if that is the case, and I know this is getting a bit deep and nitty-gritty, do you know what your core pain is?
Yeah, and I can't talk about it because my mum's in the other room.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine. Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I totally respect that. I know everybody would. Oh God, somebody's describing you as a power couple. You don't know them like I do, Daisy.
Do you know what, though? Thank you. I'm going to take that. I like the sound of that.
Oh my God, I'm never going to hear the bloody end of that.
We're going
to try and find a way of being negative about that.
Do you want to climb into the power couple's house?
Callum, I love this question.
Oh my God.
I can't see anything. I don't know what
She
any of the
can't see it.
questions
I'll
are.
read it to her. What will you do when Maddie starts going to parties and starts
already happened.
God.
It's already
good
happened.
Please
question,
don't ask
Helen.
that question. Well, okay. It's a
And
good
we know you're
question to
watching,
ask,
Maddie.
And we have very open, frank conversations with Maddie about it. Some people might say our
Maddie's
children know
14,
too.
just in case
Some
you
people
didn't know
might say
that.
our children know too much. We very much believe in talking about stuff because we want to be the main source of information. I don't want somebody else. Like a couple of weeks ago, Maddie came home and she was telling us about this guy who was telling her that drugs were much, much safer than drink. And she's fascinated me actually over the last few weeks because all she's watched and sang over and over again is the Amy Winehouse movie.
Oh, yeah.
Now, lots of people would say, oh, you shouldn't let her watch that. Totally disagree. She has been horrified by how this girl with all this talent, all this potential,
Charm.
fell for them, wanted to be in with the in crowd with her partner. I must be careful what I say. And she has seen the devastation going through her life, and she's broken-hearted for Amy Winehouse, isn't she? Literally broken-hearted. So we just keep an open dialogue going with her, and we don't let her stay the night when it's party night.
Yeah.
Just to come home so we can smell a
But in a weird,
There are rules there.
There are rules, and I did have a conversation with her the other day where I said, look, at the end of the day, we have to put some notional kind of age on this, where we say, as far as we're concerned, we don't want you to drink until a certain age. We all had those parameters set out by either the law or whatever. I mean, I didn't have any parameters, but you know, and so once we get past that, we then will have to negotiate a situation where if you're going to a party, are you going to have a drink? How much are you planning on drinking? You're not staying the night. What are those ways in which that we can sort of ensure that she's looking after herself, whilst at the same time letting her feel free? And you know, we've had an experience.
She's going to have to make her own mistakes.
I mean, my eldest daughter, Nadia's stepdaughter, Izzy won't mind me talking about this. You know, we've got to a position with Izzy where, you know,
Well, she might do. Be careful.
no, we've got to a position with Izzy where we've said to her, you know, if ever you're out and if anything were to ever go wrong, you can always talk to us, whether it be your friend of yours is drunk too much or taking something or whatever. She feels she can talk to us.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is however you get there, get into a place where your children don't go, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm slinging me hook because you're being too strict. So it's that thing of as parents.
There are some people though, and gosh, Vanessa, you read my mind or I read yours. Vanessa saying, does Maddie have a glass of wine at home?
No.
And but there are people who say that what to do with
I used to say
teenagers
it.
is
Yeah.
to...
I used to say it. I used to say I will bring up my children like they do
They
in
do
the
it in Captain
continent,
Fantastic.
where they have a little glass of wine, but we don't live in France. We live here,
Yes,
where we
true.
have a
That's
massive
true.
problem with drinking. And I've looked at the research on this, it is damaging. Any alcohol, actually before 21, damages their brain. I was talking to a doctor the other day, and she said the damage it does to their liver. No alcohol.
Till when?
Till as long as you can make it happen.
Well, what are you
Up
thinking?
until 21, the brain and the liver are still developing.
I'm thinking halfway through this year. I think it's getting to a point where
I'm not.
it's a struggle.
I'm not.
It's a struggle. Well, I think
I'm not.
I think it has to be case by case. I mean, I
Case
think
by case.
case
We're not-
by
we haven't
case.
got time on
But there's certainly not going to be a moment where I say the floodgates are open. Go for it. You know, it's not.
But would there be, as Vanessa was saying there, is there a point that you would say, okay, let's just have a glass of wine? Totally agree. I have 2 teenagers, girls, so what you guys are saying is brilliant. I'm with you all the way, so Julie's with you. But, I mean, not go for it, but we're out for a meal. Let's have a glass of wine.
They
Let's,
don't need
you know,
Why does
They
a
don't
child
need one
need
now.
a glass of wine?
No.
It's you that said, you know, they're not
I think
looking for
that-
the right bouquet, are they?
No.
They want to get plastered.
No, especially if they're sitting with their family. I mean, a really
Well,
good.
have the white or
Let me
the
give you a
red
good
with the fish.
example.
Sometimes if you ban it, says Andrew, it
Precisely.
drives them to it.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
banning it.
It
Yeah.
drives them
Totally
to
agree, Andrew.
spite
Totally.
you.
I'm not
Totally agree.
banning
But
it.
also the other. Let me just say, there was a moment
just not having it.
where Maddie
I'm having an ongoing conversation with them.
Maddie shared with us the fact that she was at a party and she said it was really difficult to resist being offered a drink repeatedly. And I stood there when she told me this and I said, okay, and I actually said, okay, well, let me just have a think about that for a couple of days. Because I thought, how can I, in all honesty, stand there and say, you do not have a drink at the next party you go to at the age of 14 and a half, 15 at all, even though the pressure's there, when I struggled with that for the last you know, for the 15, 20 years that I was drinking.
Because you struggled with it, and because it could be passed down.
So that's why when I went back to her, I said, probably we'll get to a point where we would say to you, yes, yeah, of course you can have a drink, but just don't drink to excess. And that has to be it. Yeah. And you know, they do have they know about me being an alcoholic. They know that I'm a recovering alcoholic. They know that, you know, they know that I've had a sort of rock and roll lifestyle, if you like, you know, to sort of dip into. But they've also got the experience of their older sister, who they can also turn to. And so they've got areas where they can be private in their experiences, but safe. I mean, that's the thing. What I want all my children to have is a really enjoyable relationship with alcohol. I am not an alcoholic saying, don't drink.
Never.
Yeah. There was one here that I really wanted to come up. There's 3
Is
questions.
Everybody all right
here.
Out there?
Yeah, you okay?
You all okay?
It's all right.
I need a drink.
Where was this one? For you, Nadia, if someone is doubting themselves, and I guess in this instance it's Mark, do you find it okay for them to look to you for reassurance?
When Mark's doubting himself?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I'm doubting myself, I look to him for reassurance.
But as we were saying earlier, sometimes the reassurance, no matter how much reassurance you give...
Ah, yes. Well, I've spent many years wanting to fix what is going on in him. And it's really hard to accept that I can't fix it. And if you've spent years and years in this kind of rhythm with each other, where I'm trying to fix and he's saying he can't, but he kind of wants me there trying to fix it, and then I am now trying to accept, like even this morning when I came down, because I wake up naturally happy, I'm a very happy person in the morning, he always really struggles in the morning. And we've spent the last 14 years dancing around that difference. It's a really hard difference. It's a massive difference. And at points, I've had points in our relationship, I've been really depressed myself about that, because I think, oh, just don't go down and be happy because it's so hard for him if you're happy. And he'll come downstairs thinking, just try and be happy because it's hard for her because she's happy. So that goes back and forth. But now we're in a new place in our marriage where I'm having to accept that I can't fix him. So the next question is, so what do I do? And I think it was a very wise woman with quite a broad Scottish accent. Well, no, not a very mild.
Was it Kirsty Walker again?
who said to me just the other night, and I thought they were really wise words, you said to me, well, maybe rather like Mark, what you'll have to have is just acceptance. And that's taken a long time to go. I have to accept I can't fix him.
Yes, but also what I said in that was acceptance and concentrate on all the wonderful things that he is,
what I do.
And that he brings you and that you have in your relationship.
Well, because like when sometimes people have said to me that watch the film and said, God, how is that for you? You know, living with somebody that said to us, well, Mark, a lot of the... just because somebody suffers from depression doesn't mean they're sad or miserable all the time. That's what a lot of people's perception of it is. And I would rather have this relationship that's really alive and really engaged, and we're both challenged by each other. We're very loving, it's very affectionate, and to have all of that as what, and alongside that we have this, the black dog or bear, what is it, that we also have wrestling at us and nagging us. Not all the time, but some of the time, but we can do that because we've got all of this.
Well, I have to say, much as I love Ian, I'd have him in a minute.
On that sex addict note.
I think we should let people go.
Yeah.
Hi, Kath. I'm hooked on watching you to the detriment of the washing up. Go and do the washing up.
No, don't do the blooming washing up.
The house
Never
is
do the
suffering.
washing up. You should see backstage here. That's it.
Backstage, darling.
Backstage, darling.
Mucky kitchen.
This is better than a documentary on TV. Well done, guys.
Well, thank you so much for sticking with us, those of you that have. And just a little thing, I noticed
And
in
for
the
sharing
middle...
with us. People
Yeah.
are putting enormous trust in us. Every night, honestly, every night, the stuff that you're trusting us with.
Who stole
just
this
even,
from Mark?
just to even Mark.
No, sorry. No,
Somebody asked.
Somebody asked who
I know,
stole
but
the
I'm
news
just
from me.
saying thank you
Sorry.
to
God, they're having
Sorry.
a domestic.
You know, the enormous trust that you're putting in us by just sharing how you feel in an open forum like that. Let me just tell you, you are helping us. You keep saying we're helping you. You're really helping us so much, so thank you.
I'm going to chuck you one more question because I see it was Sally O'Connor, who is, you're in California,
Sally!
aren't you, Sally? Oh my
Our
God.
American friends.
You are having exciting times over there just now, aren't you?
Yeah.
We've been watching the Trump press conference, etc. But it was an interesting question you put in there, Sally, about you being so creative, Mark. Do you think your depression is part of the creativity?
That's such a good question, Sally.
Drives it?
Totally.
You've said to me before that you've been frightened of not having it because it thinks the darkness.
I'm worried that almost taking the drugs would kill the creative verve and the sort of. I mean, you only have to look at the kind of films I make to kind of see how dark and disturbed and twisted and screwed up they are. But you know, I mean, it's been a real concern. It's a real concern. It's an ongoing concern, and that's a work in progress. I don't know the extent to which this upgrade in drugs will blunt what I think are the necessary highs and lows of creative energy. So it's always a concern. Someone else just asked if these are helpful for me. Yes, they are. I'm not here under duress. I do like the...
Sally's saying it's horrible over here, but we're uplifted by you three.
Thanks.
It's going to take a power greater than us, Sally, I'm afraid. And I like your positivity that we're getting. We're now calling it an upgrade in your drugs.
Rather than yesterday when he went to, I don't know, throw himself out the window.
Well, clearly I've taken one. It's already having an effect. I'm just going to go and float on a pink cloud.
All right, enjoy your evening,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
We're actually going to be back here tomorrow night. Cooking.
We're cooking tomorrow. We're doing a live tomorrow. What time are we doing that?
I don't know, what time do you think?
I don't know, 7?
We'll let you know.
About 7, does that work? Give us a few hearts. Does 7 work for a live cooking tomorrow?
Whilst they're doing that, I'm going down the pub.
He's going to play darts with the lads, snooker.
7's working. There's some love in there for 7 o'clock. But we will tweet and let you know.
Oh, look. Hi. Sorry, I keep getting hooked in. Hi, guys. My dad suffers from anxiety and depression, and he has watched the diaries every day. He says Mark is an inspiration. His honesty is marvellous. Oh, he was never a big drinker, but now no longer drinks at all. I can't see the rest of it.
We'll read it.
We'll read it afterwards.
But thank you for getting in touch.
Big love
and
to
I
your
loved
dad.
Yeah. Night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Night.
Bye. Thanks for all the hearts.
Look at all that love.
All that love.